Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to see everybody who joins us. My name is Yulia, and it's my pleasure to see all of you in Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform. Today is day 645 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor, and now we will be talking about the blocking of our borders. We will talk about the situation for the time being, and we will talk about the solutions of this situation. Joining us in this studio is Yulia Klymenko, first deputy head of Transport and Infrastructure Committee at the Parliament of Ukraine. Good afternoon, Ms. Yulia. So what's going on? We know that on the 6th of November, the Polish truckers have blocked 3 checkposts in our border. Then they added another one recently. So what's going on now? Well, basically nothing has changed since then. 4 checkposts are blocked, and our colleagues from other countries, I mean the cargo carriers, they threat that they would block the borders too, for example in Slovakia. And they promised to do it starting from yesterday, and from the borders I start getting information that they have already started movements to block the border. Unfortunately, the situation is not changing because the government does not act effectively in Poland. The government of Prime Minister Morawiecki is not interfering, and the new government has not come into effect. That doesn't play well for us, and our truckers stay from 9 to 14 days in line, and in winter that significantly slows down the circulation of the goods that are necessary for Ukraine, because as we know, that's the only corridor for the time being, because we have no aviation, no full-fledged railway connection, and road transport is the main way of transportation. Now, we know that the government officials try to influence the situation, but what the parliament specifically does in this situation, we voted to appeal to our Polish colleagues, Polish parliamentaries, so they pay attention to this situation and they start acting on their part so that they find some compromise with the cargo carriers, because the blocking of the border is happening on the Polish side. We cannot effectively influence the Polish cargo transporters, and we talked to the deputies who were already or who are already in the new parliament. The new deputies, they have already replaced their old colleagues on the 3rd of November, but it's an issue to be solved by the executive authority. We need the diligent work of both our executive authorities and Polish executive authorities, which are currently unfortunately paralyzed. Well, we were talking to the head of our cargo transportation associations, and when we talked about some compromises that can be found to solve this problem, he mentioned that now those requirements that are being posed by the Polish cargo transporters, they are unacceptable. So accepting them would be, roughly saying, unreal for our cargo carriers. So what is the compromise that can be found in your opinion? Well, the Polish cargo carriers, they have 5 basic demands, and some of those demands I could say that they can be fulfilled with the Ukrainian party. Is access to Shlak system, then return of the empty vehicles without line. But unfortunately, Shlak system is not so transparent. That irritates our Western partners, because they understand that a European truck is staying in line for a couple of days and a Ukrainian truck is passing by just for some preferences, and it does irritate the Polish transporters. So this is why I think that we may start talking about some compromises in the electronic line, about the Shlak system, about separate line for European trucks, and we just have to exist. We don't have to revert to the permits for Ukrainian transporters. We should continue talking about liberalization of cargo transportation. If we revert to the permits and it's more than 200,000 per year, this will result in decrease of intensity of cargo carriers operations in Ukraine almost thrice, and it will result in delivery of thrice less goods to Ukraine, which will be of harm to humanitarian cargo, to economy, and it will seriously undermine the capabilities to bring more weapons to Ukraine. Ms. Yulia, we see that there is a threatening tendency if Slovakian cargo carriers already announced that they would block their part of the border with us, so it sounds more threatening. Have we started any activities with regard to future Slovakian blockade? Well, there are negotiations on a diplomatic level with Slovakia and Poland, but again, this problem should be solved by the executive authorities, and European institutions should also interfere not with bureaucratic procedures but with more efficient tools, because again, I would like to remind our listeners that we were signing agreement about the liberalization of cargo transportation with European Union, not with Poland or Slovakia. So basically this agreement is being violated and blocked by specific countries. This is why European Commission should more effectively influence the fulfillment of such agreements as long as they are signed. The agreement is effective until summer 2024 and it's blocked by specific countries, which is unacceptable, because then any agreement that we sign with European institutions may be blocked, and then what are their authorities and how to protect the fulfillment of such agreements if any transporter, if any country, like if 60 drivers can undermine and block all the European agreement? Well, around blocking of Polish border, we've heard a lot of assumptions regarding interference of Russia and some Russian blockers that can be involved in this process. Do we have any reasons to think so, in your opinion? I think it's more of a question to the security service of Ukraine and intelligence who are supposed to deal with this. But talking about cargo transportation, it's an old issue. It's not some some melody. It's a chronic disease. Someone just manipulatively used it, understanding that there will be no efficient authority, efficient government in Poland within 2 or 3 weeks. Was it done by Moscow, with the hands of Moscow? No, probably probably yes, but was it done in Poland directly? Probably not. Not directly, but they could make use of it. They actively do it, and it's a threatening situation because those drivers that block the border, they inspect the vehicles. We don't know who those drivers are, and if there is a truck bringing weapons to Ukraine, some driver, some Polish driver, or maybe half Polish, no one knows, may open a truck and evaluate the amount of weapons coming to Ukraine. That's a very threatening situation for the national security. So it's not about the under-received profits of the business, and I think that NSDC should start reviewing this issue long ago. Dear colleagues, please join our conversation. Maxim Bajanov, Ukrinform. Recently, Poland stated that during EU Council they will initiate this issue of reverting to the permits. So in your opinion, what are their chances? I think their chances are not so good, maybe just because Poland will be represented by the transitional government. A new Minister of Infrastructure was appointed on the 26th of November. It's been only 3 days that he's in the office, and I think that those negotiations will be postponed until the moment Poland solves a problem with an effective government, after which both Ukrainian and Polish institutions may start to more effectively work with the Polish officials. I think that on the 4th of December it will be reviewed, and I think there will be no decision made on the 4th of December. Ukraine is going to reiterate its stance from the economic and political point of view, and I hope that the agreement that we've signed, and I'd like to remind our Polish friends that we've increased the intensity of cargo transportation, not because we choose to do so, but because we have no other choice. Yes, it increased up to this existing number, but there is no other way to bring humanitarian and cargo and weapons that are so necessary for Ukraine. If we have enough air defense to open the airports, and if we have enough railway capabilities, we could agree to those negotiations, and we could talk about decreasing the amount of cargo transportation. But currently we don't have either economic or national security reasons to do so. For us, this situation will be very, very problematic, I would call it so. And the last question I would like to ask you is about the consequences. We understand that the consequences are looming for our economy and agrarian sector and for the security component. Can we start estimating the consequences now? Well, since they are mostly the cargo carriers, they estimate the idle of one truck as more than 200 euro per day. So we can take the average number of trucks that is being accumulated in the border. So 300 trucks or 3,000 trucks multiplied by 300 euro per day, and multiplied by a number of days that they stay on the border since the 6th of November. And this is how we get the amount of losses. For us, well, not for us, but for the businesses, they are the direct losses. And there are also indirect losses when you cannot ensure the delivery of your goods in a timely manner according to the contract signed, or to enter Ukraine with the products procured somewhere else. So those will be the indirect losses that we will see in the years 24 and 25 due to the contracts that were not signed with Ukraine. Due to the unstable deliveries from and to Ukraine, they are difficult to calculate right now. Those are indirect losses that we cannot calculate right now, but they will be sufficient. Well, thank you very much for joining our broadcast. Joining us was Yulia, Klymenko, and let's continue working together for our victory. Let's thank our security and defense forces. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Thank you.